Hey y'all, welcome to CAMIBAart Gallery and the show Valerie Fowler and Habitats and Pathways. Excited to have you with us. This is our Artist Talk Gallery walkthrough for the exhibit. And as most of you know, we're still in the middle of a pandemic when we're recording this. So everybody in the room is wearing a mask. Valerie and I have decided not to wear a mask, but we will be staying 6 feet away from each other. It's just hard to record our voices with the mask on. So just so you know, we're being very conscious and aware during this time. But thank you for being with us. We're going to be trying something new with this Artist Talk. We're pre-recording it a couple of weeks before it's actually being released. And hopefully that allows us to give time to build up attention for it. And then you guys can comment in the comment section, and we should be able to answer your comments as it goes live. So if you're watching this at the 2 o'clock hour on August 8th, then you'll be able to make comments and we'll be able to respond to those, hopefully, if everything goes well. The other thing is that we will have released mini YouTube videos of each one of the artworks throughout the 2 weeks before this to talk about each one of the artworks. We'll dive into that a little bit more today, but make sure you go back to the YouTube channel and check out those mini videos of each individual artwork. So with all that said, I want to introduce Valerie Fowler, who is the artist for this exhibit, Habitats and Pathways. Valerie, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Yeah. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, I am honored to have this exhibit in the gallery. Your work is just absolutely fabulous. I've loved it forever, and this is your second solo show with us. And I know that you started thinking about this almost right after the last solo show.
Yeah, as soon as the last one was hung, pretty much, I was ready to do more.
Yeah. So what went into the idea behind the show, and how did that start? Because that was long before the pandemic.
It was, but it segued easily into it because it started with the last painting from the last show, which I painted in a way that was looser and more fresh than I had done in the past. And that one was a scene from a park that I go to and hike with my husband. And I thought, that went so well. That little painting was like the seed. How about I do that big? And since I already go to these places, these parks around Austin a lot, and they've always been inspiration for me. They've always been places where I can clear my head and get inspiration or work out a problem on a painting while I'm biking, or so I thought, keep it simple, Valerie. This is working. That painting was a bridge, and I thought, I had to just come up with an idea for a theme, and I thought habitats, because I've always been interested in nature, but I'm more interested in how humans and other animals interact with our earth and what we do to it, and how careful we are, and how much we know and how little we know. All the things that we do to the earth unknowingly, and I don't know. Those have always been my themes, but I wanted to keep it simple, and habitat sort of encompassed all of that, because it's our home and it's home to other creatures. And then pathways was obvious because I ride the same path, and I have for almost 30 years, and that path brings me ideas and strength and comfort, and so and I imagine that for all the creatures, those pathways bring a lot of the same things.
Right. It's sort of their stomping ground where they go every day, their sort of pathway.
Yeah, so that's, you know, how it started, and then it was like full speed ahead because this new way of painting just quicker, you know, and I'm making faster decisions. And then the pandemic happened, and getting out on my trails was incredibly important for my sanity, and everyone else, you know, was doing a lot of the same thing. But and I felt more and more urgent to do more and more painting, and I didn't have anything else to do but paint and ride my bike and work in my garden. And then 8 months went past, and I had a whole body of work. So it was really fun.
Yeah. And you went large. Like, there's some really large paintings.
That's what I thought. Well, you know, the intimacy of the little ones I like, but I wanted to get noticed, you know.
Right.
And so, you know, and I can do this. And because they're important to me, the subject matter, I think they deserved to go large, you know, and so that's what I did, you know. And when I learned also that when I paint fast like this, it's a lot more athletic, and you need a big canvas for that movement. So,
well, one of the things I really like about the large ones is that you feel like you can step into them, right? It's like, you know, they're all encompassing around you. It becomes like an environment for you, a habitat for you. This one in particular, I really feel like I'm underneath the grapevine in the tree, and you know, you're in that space looking out, almost.
I like that idea. I think of these guys as characters too, that they're in there with you, they're doing their thing while you're doing your thing, and they sort of talk to me.
Yeah. And so you mentioned that these are all from sort of your stomping grounds, places that you go a lot on your hike and your bike and things like that. So we put together this really cool map of, you know, all the locations on it.
Right.
And I think it's fun. Are they all they're all accessible by everybody, right? They're not. They're not.
It's all public.
All public
space.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not lucky enough to have any piece of land to go to. So.
And did you work from memory? Did you work from photos? A little of both, or?
A little of both. I take a lot of pictures, and especially on hikes. But on my bike, I don't like to stop, especially when it's hot. You know, stop, you sweat.
Yeah,
more.
right.
So,
keep the breeze going.
But, a lot of these, because it was the beginning of the year, a lot of these were late, inspired during the late winter. So early spring, and I got off my bike a lot and took a lot of pictures. But I take a lot of pictures and then I put them away, and I don't really look at them when I'm painting because they're sort of like touchstones to get me going. And
like seeds.
Yeah, they're like seeds or ways for me to remember a spot and the colors. But if I don't have a camera, I do a lot of like, it was pink, you know, thinking in my head until I get home, and then I take notes and I remember that way.
Well, we were talking before about this piece in particular, and you know, so on the website we've got, for several of them, we have the photo of the actual location and then the artwork, and some of them you can see the forms and the shapes, but yet the colors are different because you've done your thing, right? You've made your creation. And this one in particular is really interesting when you see the actual photo of it, and you don't have all the crepe myrtles, right? They're or red buds. They're not really blooming in the photo, so you've kind of gone and said, what do I imagine?
Well, they were starting to bloom, and I know what red buds look like, right? and how they excite me that spring is coming. You know, so the picture, it's just like this vague pink-esque quality.
Touch.
But it was also just the way they're competing for the light, and in the early winter there's not as much foliage, and so I don't know, it's just such a exciting time because things are bursting out and you don't know who's going to win.
Right.
Between all the trees and the foliage.
What goes into your thoughts on colors for the pieces? I mean, the show has a very cohesive feel as far as its color palette, and there's definitely a language that you use as an artist following your work for a long time, you can just see that repeat of color palettes. But what goes into the decision of a color palette for a particular piece and then for a show? How does that?
It gradually shifts, but mostly I've been using the same blue, the same green, I think the same yellow, the same brown, which reads black if you paint it, just on its own. I've used those in combination with white and I can't remember what else. Sometimes, sometimes I branch off with different reds, but I've just been using them for so long that I know what they'll do for me, and I love them so much. Having found that blue that I like, I just don't want to do anything else, and I know how it's going to perform, and I know how it's going to look if I mix white with it, or if I mix that same brown with it. It does all kinds of tricks. And the same with the green. The green's the most difficult to work with because it's kind of sticky. I don't want to get too much into that. But I add yellow to it, or I add white to it, or I add red to it, and sometimes it gives me trouble. But the color is the color I want, so I'd rather use it.
Yeah. Oh, I think it's interesting in this show that the smaller works, and this may just be for this show, but the smaller works seem to be a lot more in the green gold tones. And the larger ones get a lot more color variety or depth to it. And I don't know if that was a conscious decision or.
I think it's just what I remember was there. The only exception is the top one, which is I added a little red to the tree, and that, I don't know. I think they each demand what they demand.
So it was a decision based on the individual pieces, not necessarily, oh, these are small, this is the way I'm going to paint these, and these are large. No, it's really about this.
And the thing of painting so many paintings in such a short period of time, they just sort of naturally go together because they're one fed off the other to the other, and that's how body of work was built.
Yeah. Wait, there's one behind David over here that's on paper,
right?
And it's well, I mean, to my eye, I'm not trained, but it's gold and black, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
There's probably a lot more colors in it than that, but it seems to be monochromatic and
it's one yellow playing off and it's a watercolor off the color of the paper. So a little bit more yellow for the areas that are dark yellow, and then just not very much yellow in the places I want them to be a little more airy. But yeah, and I think I did use a little bit of colored pencil on top of it at the end. But it's yellow and some blue, and then the same brown. And these are watercolors, but it's a Van Dyke brown that I've been using for years, and I use it in watercolor or oil paint. And then also the yellow is the same yellow I use in oil paint.
Wow.
Because it just works for me, So.
Do you approach creating a painting on paper different than the ones on panel or canvas?
I'm sure I do. I was doing a lot of brush and ink drawings at the time, and this is actually sort of a study or an experiment for my large screen that I did. So I thought, well, why not try it in ink first? Because ink and watercolor, both of the screen and this one are about water and fluid, that sort of thing. So it just seemed natural.
Yeah, I mean, it feels very fluid.
I love momentum and flow in the movement, so that's what that's about.
I love that. The trees, the way you do the trees, is just amazing to me. It's this really cool Dr. Seussian way of looking at trees. I just love that.
Well, I've done plenty of
realistic looking trees, and boy, is it a lot more fun to do it on. Like that, you know, because and it lends itself. I don't know. It's my, yeah, I get to do it. It's fun.
Well, let's look at the screen. Since you mentioned, so that's the study, or for this that you sort of created that before the front of this.
Yes.
And so they're based on the same location.
Exactly.
Then, right?
Exactly. Yeah. The same location. It's right off Lady Bird Lake, right before you get to. Right before you get to Mopac. Now I'm having I just passed it this morning, but and it's so dry now. I think that's where it is, but I may be wrong, so we'll have to.
Yeah, let's look at the map.
Yeah,
Map here.
but yeah, it's a retaining pond at Lady Bird Lake, and it's yeah, it's about water, but it's also a place that I pass all the time, and I've seen it without water, you know, totally dry like it was today, and I've seen it with the water like it is in this painting, and all the way the light hits it, dappling through the trees is fascinating to me. But it was also, this is a lot about death, and you would probably notice
really?
it. Yeah, it was because of a friend of mine who died a couple of years ago, and his ashes were scattered in the Gulf of Mexico, and I kept thinking, you know, that there's no place for me to visit him, but he's probably visiting me, because with all the rains and stuff, you know, and all, you know, thinking about how water works its way around, and thinking, you know, hoping his ashes were near me, and that sort of thing. And the retaining ponds are places that filter, so I just, you know, like to think that he's nearby.
Wow. So this is not your first screen. You've done screens before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I've done 11 or 12 of them, not as big as this one, and they were a little bit more like furniture. They had more of a frame, and I had a furniture maker make them for me. This one's just, you know, it's a painting that's hinged.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And why screens? What?
I don't really know. Because I love arts and crafts, that whole era. I love practical art, you know. So I guess that's why, you know, they make a statement, and they're painted on both sides.
Yeah.
You know, you can bend them both ways, and so they're really fun.
What inspired the other side of this? Is it also the water?
It's the water. It's the water, and it's also the I don't know. You know, this was more Corona, just a little bit thinking about what's in the water, what we all share, the air and the water. And
this is the last piece created for the show, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I love that.
It's fun. I'm going to do more. I'm going to do some small ones too, like altarpieces.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That would be neat.
Yeah, I hope so.
So let's talk about this one right behind you, and it goes back to the works on paper. And again, it's watercolor and ink on paper.
Yeah.
And they, it just seems that the process has to be a little different going into it. Do you draw it first, or?
There is a little. I think there was some pencil drawing at the beginning of this. Yeah, usually I do some pencil drawing just to kind of, you know, map out the space, you know, but the rest, I think, was just.
I think for me, I keep thinking that it's probably less layering.
Yeah.
Because I know you do a lot of layering on your paintings, and you go through and you layer, and there may be things under there we never get to see.
Yeah.
That you paint over things a lot. And this seems like once you make a mark, you've made the mark.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why it's great, smaller. You know,
I don't know, it's a little bit more intimate, but I've been doing a lot of ink with a brush, and so I feel a little bit more confident now to do it. And yeah, it's fun.
Any reason that a particular location demanded a watercolor and ink on paper versus a piece on canvas or panel, or was it just I'm ready to do this piece and I'm?
I think this was probably a study,
okay.
And I might still do a painting of that area, of that spot. This is right across from my house, a little green space that's like a pocket park, and there's a hotel nearby that has a pink neon sign, and so you can see it through the bushes a lot of times, and it always makes me think. I mean, I know it's neon, but I always think of it as a heartbeat in the woods, of an animal, of somebody having their little habitat.
Right. There. Was that what inspired in the last show? There's one that was a heartbeat in the thicket or something like that, or?
Well, that wasn't because of the neon sign, but that was that definitely is what
same idea.
It's the same idea. An animal. I always think of red as life, a life force. A beating heart, something like that. This was at just the beginning of the lockdown, and I was going for a walk in that little green space.
And do you work on the watercolor ink pieces at the same time that you're doing the larger works?
Yeah, I really like to do it's like stations when kids are in kindergarten. They have I always have something sitting on my drawing board that I can sit down and mess with if I get stuck on something else, and I like to have some works that in ink or just lots of different things going so that I don't and I always have something on the easel. I don't want to be idle.
Right. There's always something going on.
There's always something to work on.
Is this more akin to the process that you do for the illustrations of the CD jacket covers and things like that? Is it more akin to this, or is that something still even different?
I think the only similarity is the airiness and that it's ink. All the ones, almost all the CDs have been ink and watercolor. I think the CD covers.
So it's a similar process.
Yeah, I guess so. It's more illustrative.
More it's illustrative.
Yeah.
Okay. And are they usually small?
Yeah.
They're usually smaller, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they, get scanned in and printed, whatever.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. They're usually 12 by 12.
Okay.
So they work for a CD.
Yeah. What else do we want to talk about? You know what? One of the things I do want to talk about is the flow and the way you crop or create an image. When you look at the photos that you've taken, and then you look at these, and set them side by side, they're so close to actually being the same angle. But yet, I know you're creating a frame of your own in your mind. What goes into deciding, how to crop it on the canvas?
Well, in the case of this one in particular, it was that photograph, and of course, when I when I took the photograph, I framed it. I made a selection.
You hadn't cropped it down.
Yeah, or just took it the way I saw it, and then my job after that, if I'm inspired enough by that photograph, is to make it interesting and make it mine, kind of. So there's a little bit of incorrect, I guess you would say, perspective. Yeah, and flattening and stuff, which I kind of enjoy.
Yeah. That
sort of thing, and it sort of puts the viewer a little off kilter. I see things like that all the time, and I like to play with those different planes. But yeah, it just it was just an inspiring little enclosure. This side of the creek, there's a big embankment, and so it feels like you're in a home. There's another habitat kind of thing. And this tree, although it doesn't really look like it very much, but it's a sycamore, and it's actually the same sycamore that's in the large sycamore redwood painting.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's just looking up through the trees, and this is the roots of it. So it was that same day I was taking a lot of pictures that day.
Well, I love how this one, it really leads your eye. I mean, it does a wonderful job of leading your eye around. And like you said, there's a little flatness to it here, which I love because it feels like you start here, your eye starts here, and you're looking at it, and it's like, oh, it's a painting. And then your eye gets in here, and then all of a sudden you're lost in the woods. Yeah. Like you're no longer at a painting. You get pulled into this depth, and I love that trick. It's just like, oh yeah, it sort of tricks you into coming in. You're like, oh, look at these go, wow. Then you just zoom in there, and then it just does a great job of zooming you around. I mean, I could look at that painting forever. Just zoom around in there.
I get, when a painting carries my eye, I feel always a little breathless. It's so exciting.
It is very
It's
exciting.
just like you sort of let yourself be taken. It's nice. I like that.
Yeah, I definitely, you've got this ability of just getting a sense of place, creating a sense of place. And I love that about your work. But yet, at the same time, it's so surreal. It's so imaginative. It's so, you know this is not an actual painting that's supposed to be, a realist a documentation of a spot. It's an imagination of a spot.
Yeah.
But you can imagine yourself in this imaginative world. You can see yourself sitting on those rocks, or in the grasses or whatever. And
I think it's a very lucky position that artists are in, that they can sort of introduce what they see and help other people see what they see, and so it's my own particular vision, but I get to share it because I get to exploit the things that I think are odd about any given scene. So it's I read something that Georgia O'Keeffe said about that, and I can't remember it, but it's about the reality being born, and that we get to tell reality from our own point of view. And
yeah, I like that a lot.
The foundation probably. I don't remember the quote, but
so we're about ready time-wise to wrap up.
Okay.
Is there anything else you wanted to make sure that we told people about the show that maybe I didn't hit on, or?
No, I'm happy, that I get to share my what it feels like kind of almost intimate spaces. They're public, but they feel like they're mine with so many people. It's really kind of a great thing, I guess, that we get to map it and talk about it.
Well, and I know it's really weird not getting to have a reception with your friends and all the art community here to celebrate it. And I know it's hard. It's hard on me, and I know it's really hard on the artists to not get to do that. But hopefully, with these videos, it's a way of connecting. I encourage everybody to reach out through comments or emails and just give feedback, because it is important for the artists to get feedback from the community about the show and about the artworks. I think it gives purpose, or gives some sort of completion to the whole thing. So with that said, I also want to remind everybody we do have a map online of all of these locations. I think there's one that is an what's it called?
Unknown landscape.
Unknown landscape.
Just from my imagination.
Yeah, so it's the only one that doesn't actually have a pin on the map, because it's unknown. But everything else has a pin on the map, and then most of the pieces also have a photo online of the actual location, so you can see what she was looking at and took back to her studio in her mind to create the pieces. So I think that's pretty amazing. And the exhibit is up through August 15th. And we are open by appointment. We encourage everybody to schedule an appointment. When you do, you're the only one in the gallery. So it's completely yours for an hour, 45 minutes to an hour, and that's, how often you get that, that's really nice. So anyway, thank you, Valerie. Again, I'm honored to have you in the gallery and to be showing this. And come see us at CAMIBAart.com.